Hello, Ross. Just saw your comment come through. So obviously people can hear us, which is great. And I can see that Harry must have said, yes, we can hear you before I joined. Hello, Harry. It's good to have you with us and good to have everyone else. Now, I might as well introduce myself and get things underway. We're a couple of minutes past 5, so I know that everyone can see and hear, which is fantastic. So this is a really exciting time for Special Olympics, and this is an opportunity for us to tell you a lot about it. So just before I do start, though, formally, I just wanted to do an acknowledgement of country and pay my respects to the traditional owners of the lands on which we're all meeting all around the country. For me here, it's the land of the Gandangara people out in southwest Sydney. Pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. For those that haven't yet met me, and I'm very aware that we've got a lot of athletes and parents joining the call this evening, not just our traditional volunteers and coaches. My name's Pierre Comis and I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at Special Olympics Australia. Today or this evening, for those on the East Coast, we're going to be hearing from Tanya Brown, who's one of our national board directors and is also chair of the World Games Bid Committee. And we've also got with us Fiona Lander, who's the 2027 World Games Director, who's overseeing the bid. So welcome, Tanya and Fiona. Looking forward to the session this evening. And I might just start very quickly by letting people know that obviously, as you may have heard Aaron say, we are going to record this session so that we can circulate it, so people can watch this recording and presentation at their convenience after the session, and particularly for those that are unable to be with us today. In addition to that, if you haven't yet found the chat function, I encourage you to do so. You won't be able to speak and ask questions. We're going to deliver a presentation today. It's short and sharp, but you will be able to put in both comments and or questions via the chat. So we encourage you to do that. Hopefully we'll be able to address some of those as they come through or at the end if time permits. But short of that, we will collect them and we will actually put some responses together and circulate a bit of a Q&A with the recording after the session as well. So please make sure you send those through. And then the final thing from me, for those that are from our club network that are with us this evening, just a reminder that this coming Saturday, we do have the AGM. So if you haven't yet RSVP'd or completed a proxy, I encourage you to do that so that Gareth and my team don't need to call you during the week to chase you up. We're keen to make sure everyone is part of the AGM on Saturday. And without further ado, I won't speak about the bid lodgement date or the timeline or anything else. I'll let Tanya do that. So Tanya, I will hand it over to you, get you to share your screen when you're ready, and look forward to hearing the update. Thank you.
Super. Thanks, Pierre. Good afternoon and evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have this opportunity to share with you the information about the World Games. I'm going to share my screen now with you. There we go. Okay, so welcome to this town hall presentation. We are here really to share with you Australia's opportunity to host the largest humanitarian event on the planet, which is the Special Olympics World Summer Games. We are bidding for the 2027 World Games. So after the next year, as you would all know, the Berlin 2023 Games, the next Summer World Games will be in 2027. So that's the year that we're aiming for. I'm a proud West Australian, the mother of 3 children who are 8, 10 and 12. And I have the privilege of being a board member of Special Olympics Australia since 2020. And I am very involved in the West Australian community here, and also have had the pleasure of meeting some of our athletes from around the nation at our state games, and I'm very much looking forward to the upcoming national games in Launceston and being able to meet many more. I have been given the privilege of playing a role in this World Games bid, as we have really fostered an immense amount of momentum and energy towards the dream of Australia hosting for the first time in the Southern Hemisphere the World Games. So that's enough about me. It's certainly not about me. This is about the opportunity and the way forward. That's a pretty amazing picture when you think about that opportunity, the biggest humanitarian event in the world coming to Australia and being in our backyard, and something that is very accessible, and what that will do for participation and awareness and inclusion for the movement of Special Olympics globally. A bit about why are we bidding to host the World Games? It's an incredible opportunity and really the ultimate pinnacle of the Special Olympics international global movement. And the notion that hosting the World Games, what that will drive in terms of the opportunities and how it will propel forward Special Olympics in Australia and the Southern Hemisphere is really what has ignited the momentum behind what we do normally in our normal course of business as usual. So this really gives a shiny gold ticket to Special Olympics in Australia and Asia Pacific, and is allowing conversations to be had and support to be raised and awareness and education around Special Olympics and intellectual disability to be on a much greater scale, and so that we can generate a lot more impact. So it is a wonderful catalyst, the World Games, that really allows us to develop legacy goals around what we want to achieve as a host nation. And then the games themselves are designed around achieving those legacy goals, which are unique to Australia. They talk to where we're at in terms of inclusion, in terms of diversity. They are derived, imagined, and then delivered based on what is best for us as a nation and our community. So an incredible opportunity. What it then provides is a catalyst to leverage around the nation, around the globe, as the world looks to Australia to lead the next chapter of inclusion. In the development of the World Games, the learnings that we've had to date and from other host nations and Special Olympics International have always been that the most successful events within the Special Olympics community are always athlete-centred and drive that inclusion agenda from the outset. So that is front of mind always, and there are so many opportunities and so many pathways that we're developing in this World Games bid, and then as we move into the World Games delivery. So we really want to engage the community further and encourage input at any point along the journey from everyone. It is a world stage that we are bidding to take control of, to take hosting rights for. It is the biggest humanitarian event in the world. It's also the biggest sporting event in the world the year that it's held, because it doesn't coincide with the Olympics. It's the only organisation in the world that can use the word Olympics, so an incredibly strong brand that attracts global interest, recognition, and a host of ambassadors and special guests and honoured guests that we are excited to think that Australia will be able to play a huge part in the future of. The World Games are twice the size of the Paralympics. So we have around 8,000 athletes. The Paralympics has about 4,000. There's 26 competition sports, over 10 days of competition. The host town program wraps around the event. 170 nations are what we talk about. In Abu Dhabi, there were 198 nations and territories that participated or attended, which was the last World Games in 2019. There's a huge number of athletes that are supported by coaches, carers, honoured guests, media, families. One of the amazing media statistics from the Abu Dhabi Games was that it had 62 billion media impressions. It reached, tens of millions of households through television rights, through the partnership with ESPN and global media partners. So it really does command the world stage. It is huge. It is the biggest event Western Australia has ever contemplated hosting, and it is one of the biggest events Australia will host. So an incredible opportunity for us all. I'm going to now share with you a video from Tim Shriver, the Global Chair of Special Olympics International. So please enjoy.
Hello, I'm Tim Shriver, and I'm very proud to represent the board and the leadership of the Special Olympics International movement, but most proud to be a part of the athlete and volunteer and family community around the world that creates the Special Olympics movement every day for millions and millions of people with intellectual challenges, for their families, and for the rest of the world as an example, as a model, as a clarion call to a more inclusive future. I want to extend to Prime Minister, to the Honourable Scott Morrison, to the West Australian Premier, the Honourable Mark McGowan, and to the whole of the Australian and all of the state governments, to the corporate entities, to the philanthropies, to the broader community in Australia, my personal welcome, my personal invitation, my personal excitement about the possibility of Special Olympics Asia Pacific and Special Olympics Australia joining together to bid to host the largest humanitarian event in the world in 2027, the Special Olympics World Summer Games. All of you in Australia know the power of this movement. You know from your own athletes the urgency of inclusion, the urgency of creating a culture of welcome for people with intellectual and developmental challenges from the cradle to the grave. You know how important it is for our schools and our sports clubs, for our employers and our housing infrastructure to all be places where people are welcome. Nothing will make this message more clear, more powerfully understood, and more generally welcomed than the World Summer Games. I've been lucky enough to attend Special Olympics World Summer Games for most of my life. I promise that they will change your life. There is nothing like bringing the world together through the voices of its most humble citizens. There is nothing like the joy of sport to transform perceptions of fear and prejudice and discrimination. There is nothing like the athlete who gives her or his all to the race, and regardless of all the odds, perseveres in the face of everything to do his or her best and stand at the finish line and on the medal stand, preparing to be decorated with gold or silver or bronze, or participation brave regardless of the outcome. This is a movement urgently needed today, in a time of division, a time of tension, in a time where inequalities and inequities around the world have been more powerfully revealed and more urgently challenged. This is a chance for the Southern Hemisphere to host its first Special Olympics World Summer Games, and for Australia to lead us into the future. Welcome to this bid, and welcome to the community of those committed to an inclusion revolution. Thank you.
Okay, I'll see if we go back now to the PowerPoint. Bear with me a moment. Were you able to see that screen just then?
No, we had the video, Tanya, and then we've now got the
your screen.
Yeah, we've got our faces, or your face, and
sure.
Our profiles. You might just need to share it again from scratch. There we go. That's the video of Tim, so it's not the PowerPoint.
Give me one sec. Can you now see our approach?
Yes.
That's it,
Yep.
Tanya.
Okay, wonderful. So to give you an update of where we are, we have been raising awareness and advocacy through a huge amount of stakeholder engagement with local, state and federal governments. We have bipartisan support at a federal level, which has now been solidified with our election as of yesterday. So a very smooth transition with the change of government should follow. We have media releases that have been started to be shared, as well as some advertising campaigns that have been developed. There's a website that you can now go to in perth2027.org, which will soon have some new content that is really exciting that we actually shared this morning for the first time. There's been a huge amount of engagement in terms of the likes of Rotary and volunteer organisations, corporates, philanthropic groups, which are reflected in the letters of support that you can access through the perth2027.org website. And it will show you the level of support and engagement from all the stakeholders to date. And if anyone wants to send in a letter of support, please reach out to us, or wants to arrange one. We're very open to ongoing engagement with stakeholders. And this really does demonstrate the want from Australia and community for this event to come to Australia. The bid, we have had a huge amount of support from consulting firms, from government, all predominantly in a pro bono capacity or at a heavily discounted cost, to allow it to be done in an extremely professional manner. We have had Clayton Utes as our lawyers doing legal advisory. Deloitte are doing the bid development and legacy goals. They have a team around Australia. Deloitte are also the International Olympic Committee consultants. They were recently awarded that, and they've done similar humanitarian events in Invictus and Pride, Sydney World Pride, as well as having worked with Special Olympics previously. The research framework and business case was done by Ernst & Young, which demonstrated that we do have the capability to host the biggest humanitarian event in the world, and that our sporting infrastructure and our hotel infrastructure, or beds and accommodation, will all allow the event to be done at the scale and to the level that is anticipated to be the best World Games ever. We have, as a Gatecrasher, who are a wonderful company that have done video content for us. They've actually been able to meet some of the Special Olympics community and work with them to develop local content, which is really amazing. And we have a huge amount of support from Special Olympics International, which have been a partner in this journey to date. And as evidenced by that video from Tim Shriver that they did for the purposes of our bid development, they're incredibly supportive and have so much knowledge, and they connect us into the fabric of the Special Olympics International community all around the world, with calls facilitated with Berlin and the Special Olympics International community, which are in many, many different time zones around the world. But an incredible amount is happening, and there's a huge web of support behind the development of the bid. We have a bid advisory group which has Special Olympics representation in Cameron, our chair, Sean, our chair of Farm Committee, Pierre, our CEO, Fiona, who you've met today, and also Hannah Brown, our state chair of Special Olympics WA. Ben Hack has been a wonderful contributor and has already had opportunities to use the platform that the World Games bid has developed. He last week shared a presentation with the Department of Mines here in Western Australia, which was incredibly impressive. We have David Etherton, who looks after the 13 state sporting venues in Western Australia and has been heavily involved in tourism as well as sport for a long period of time in government. Dr. Sandy Chong is the president of the United Nations Association of Western Australia, as well as many other hats, and she really brings a lens of social impact and inclusion, as well as the Asia Pacific engagement and the opportunity for what this does for us to become an inclusive and accessible nation is very well known and articulated by Sandy and her contribution. Andrew Vlahoff was a four-time Olympic basketballer and was the chair of the Tokyo Olympic Committee, Team Australia. Hayden Marchetto is in unified sport in AFL, the biggest club structure in Australia, and we have a good working relation. Again, she's the CEO of the West Australian Cricket Association. Ian Fitzpatrick is in education and research with the University of Western Australia and UWA Sport. And Jacqueline Littlejohn is from also many hats, but she has created a group of matriarchs that are giving the bid cultural passage as we move through the bid development. There's been some really exciting ways to share how we are proud to be Australians and, you know, what is uniquely Australian about our nation as we develop this bid and look to showcase Australia as an inclusive nation to the world. In the EY business case, the Ernst & Young business case that was done and that demonstrated we do have the capability to host this event, it demonstrated that the cost is about 136 million, which is a fully costed arm's length transactions budget. And we are working to seek the funding from federal, state and corporate and philanthropic community. And it is quite balanced evenly to allow it to be innovative and agile and really deliver on the catalyst that it is to achieve our legacy goals. So to keep it moving at a pace that it deserves and to have engagement across the whole of community to really drive that systemic change. It has a return on investment of 212 million as demonstrated in the business case. This doesn't capture the pre-legacy value, which will be immense. With the bid, once the bid is awarded, there's the period of time between that bid award and the actual event delivery in 2027, which will allow many, many pathways and social impact and direct return to be achieved. So it's got an incredible opportunity, larger than what is reflected in these figures. The timeline, to hopefully get you excited, we lodged the bid on the 15th of July this year. So I think Fiona said to me this morning it was 38 days away, so or business days away. So it's coming closer and closer. There's a period where Special Olympics International come out and do a site visit, of which we've already been talking to them about. And then there's a virtual presentation to the Special Olympics International Board in October to follow the announcement in November. And then we carry through to the Games agreement being committed to between Special Olympics Australia and Special Olympics International, and then the rollout of the opportunity beginning with a transfer of knowledge at Berlin in 2023. We have a survey that's been developed to really harness the thoughts and experiences that are known within our Special Olympics Australia community, and we would really like people to get on board and share what they think about the World Games opportunity and how it can be improved, how we can really deliver on it being athlete-centric and quality-focused. It is an incredible once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we hope you are inspired by, and it being in our own backyard where it is not a faraway land. It should mean that so many more people can be inspired to participate and get behind it in a very meaningful way. So I encourage you to get involved and make the most of the opportunity. I'll now have a look at the chat and open it up for questions.
Thanks so much, Tanya. We've actually just had a question come through from Mark. Mark is asking how many other countries have put in a bid for the World Games in 2027. Is that something we know or can speak to, Tanya?
Yeah, sure. So there is usually about 5 nations that bid for a World Games. The Special Olympics International usually develop a backstop in a US host nation. Great Britain indicated quite publicly that they were looking to bid, but we understand that Special Olympics Australia is the dominant bid, that they are very excited to have Australia developing a bid. And really, I think that the opportunity is certainly very, very real for us to capture. So that the other host nations, I will say, will be, if they do come forward and host a bid and lodge a bid, I think that Australia is still well placed to be the most successful.
In other words, we're feeling very confident, aren't we, Tanya? I think
we are
that's
very confident.
A good way of summarising it. I'm just keeping an eye on this. I'm also mindful of the time because we are aware that people are in for the half hour. We've got a comment here from Kathy Cook. Thrilled to be part of such an amazing team of people, so passionate about this bid for our nation. Thank you, Kathy. Completely agree with that. Mikey Patterson, I want to put in my bid for the World Games 2027 as well. May I please? And second that from Kathy as an athlete representing our club. So we're getting some traction and some interest. I encourage anyone that hasn't yet put anything in the chat who would like to, please do so. We might wrap this webinar presentation up very, very soon. We've sort of delivered that information. I just want to remind people the survey that Tanya referred to will be sent around to everyone after this webinar session. So have a look in your inboxes, have a look in your junk mail folders in case it ends up there. We certainly want everyone to be able to contribute their voice and have their say. That's very, very important for us. And if you haven't done so already, I know that the World Games bid website is live, perth2027.org. I've got that right, Tanya, haven't I? Perth2027.org. You can jump on and select how you'd like to support, either as a volunteer, as a fan, as an athlete, etc. So I encourage you to do that as well. But other than that, please continue to feed through in that chat. I can see that there's a couple of other comments that have come through, so we'll synthesize those and make sure that when we circulate the recording, we'll put some fact sheet or a Q&A together to make sure that we've answered each of those questions. And I think that's about it. Tanya, was there anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap up?
No, I think it's so inspiring, and I think it really is something that should bring us together and really project our path forward. So I look forward to hearing the feedback and seeing the photos that people want to put in to support it, and look forward to meeting many, many more of the people involved.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much for this evening. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you to Fiona, to Tanya, and to the broader World Games Working Group that are doing a heap of work for us. It's greatly appreciated. So on behalf of the group, thank you for joining, and we look forward to keeping you updated as the bid progresses. Have a pleasant evening, everyone. Thanks. Bye.